these are my recordings so far, and in 7 days, I've been able to do quite a few of these now. Some of them are double takes, or aren't double takes at all. It's literally daily. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and 9. And even today, I'm willing to continue this fucking trend entire week now, apparently. Apparently getting a computer makes you immortal. Immortal ranter. Eternal as well. Okay. This might be the final boss, and I want to disappear for a little while. It would be so fucking convenient if I can do that. So convenient. So let's figure this out. Should we hate science and regulation? Obviously scratch that. How much? How much, boys? I don't know if I like the word regulation. I'm just being triggered by everything the government does these days. And even making school regulated and mandatory. It's almost like, are we suffering from coronavirus again? Is this why school is mandatory? I bet going to school cures a certain virus that science knows everything about, but we don't know anything about. Is the first point, basically, in the book. Science knows everything, and you know nothing. Please obey. Please. Okay. So, obviously, there's gonna be a split now, and a decent split. Now it's gonna be a 50-50 after people immediately wake up. It's like, well, I like science a little bit. You don't like science because there's a lot of fucking know-it-all people shitting on your face. I'm shitting on your face, but I'm kinda keep on missing because it's a joke shit on your face moment. It's a joke time. I'm not trying to intimidate you with crazy tools I have discovered. Or manipulation tactics. I'm not intimidating you with that shit. But science is gonna do crazy things to your fucking brain right now. And it has crazy biases too. And above all else, science is a playground for cheaters. It's absolutely a playground. It's like, well, some people will take a very, very long time to do their studies and publish something and form an opinion. They will take a long time to do it. And technically, this is science. Me diving in, trying to get maximum context, trying to understand what I feel about this subject and why, what kind of memories I have, what's linked with what. That could be called science. Just as easily. Science as a term is so vague, my mind will blow up. How vague it is. To some degree, science doesn't mean anything at all. This is how pissed off I am at this thing. Like, again, once we recognize that school is a mistake, people still go forward with the school. And guess why? They think they can outdo themselves, which is a good deal, but they're also splitting themselves into two pieces. Into a person that wants to achieve things the old-fashioned way that the school told them to do, and a person that wants to get rid of the school material entirely whenever it's convenient because it's boring and annoying. And guess what? Just like schools are. Okay? For cheaters. Scientists are not teachers. They are cheaters who try to get the material and sell it for you to, well, plagiarize. You know, it's like, oh, you just look over here, I know this too now. So science intimidates you to know certain things that are way not necessary and probably wrong entirely because you can't actually observe them the way that you're supposed to observe things in reality. My main point of why I personally, and I'll do this emoji, when I say I personally, I don't speak for myself. I am choosing this way. So I need a mouthless emoji. No mouth. This is who I am. Based on this choice. And I lost myself in that emoji right now. Oh my god. Well, we'll find out eventually. But there's a choice that I made against science of why I don't like it so much. God damn it. Why did everything reset? Did I got sucked into a black hole all of a sudden? No. I observe reality without special equipment. What do I do? Holy shit, you know? Oh, just find symptoms and you're sick. We're not talking about finding illnesses. We're talking about finding cures. Okay? This is insane. Science, just like any other media, focuses on problems, not the solutions. What is happening? What do I do to live a healthy life? Forget about the fucking virus thing, okay? Just forget about it. We should care about what is the right thing even more now. Because there's a looming doom, basically. It's like, this is what happens, basically. There's a shadow chasing us. And science wants to observe. In fact, science will throw you into the shadow to check for a simple test. I'm just testing you. Get into the shadow now. I intimidate you, dude. This is a next level bully, dude. This is a bully that backstabs you in the fucking back, man. It doesn't show up for a long time until it backstabs you with some bullshit because it cracked down on your psychology and wants to fucking destroy your life now. Destroy your life with some kind of simple test. Oh, jump into that shadow thing. And I just want to see if the shadow is chasing us. Maybe he likes eating humans and he will slow down. It's a very simple science we're doing. It's so fucking simple. And they're focusing on the problem. They look into the shadow and they think they can fucking tame the shadow because that's what science always thinks. They're fucking better than everyone else. And they're not better than everyone else. They're sacrificing everyone to be better. And remain better. To be able to sacrifice people. But they themselves have to be knocked out of the game immediately. It's the craziest fucking thing. And it's so easy now because now they wielded that one word as if it's protecting them enslaving humanity successfully. Well, congratulations. We're gonna talk about it now. Because I fucking found you, motherfucker. Again and again. And I'm gonna refine you and refine my message. Because I am upset. I'm really upset. Science did not help me one fucking inch, man. Maybe toothpaste is good, but I haven't decided that yet. Because I have different problems for my teeth. But yeah, toothpaste feels good. I don't really use shampoo or soap, and these are not necessarily scientific things anyways. This is now commonplace. It's not even science. It's just commonplace. At some point, science has to simplify itself until it's just common, logical, product, behavior, understanding, a fact, something simple and easy to pick up. Okay? Purpose of science is to self-destruct into... Fuck off. Into a simple truth. I would say item of truth. It feels a little bit better saying that. Whether it's truth that stands alone, a truth that is applied to reality and everyone likes it as a part of technology that we adopted. But science has nothing to do with this. In fact, science has to self-destruct to allow technology to flow in. To allow opinions to clash with each other instead of some opinion standing out of like, hey, look at me, I know something, you know nothing, get shot at, get the fuck out of here, you know nothing, okay? The moment you say you know something, it's game over for you. This is where science comes in and actually does that and actually has to self-destruct because they have no idea what they're messing with, basically. No idea. When they say, I know something, you should listen to me. No, you have to talk. And then people listen. That's all you need to do. If you want people to listen, just talk. What's the big idea, man? Well, the big idea is that something worked. Something cracked into the system, and now we have to uncrack it to figure out exactly how the fuck did this happen? How much we should hate science for the problem to be fixed, because it's clearly a problem. I clearly define it as such, and that half and a half split, baby? I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I don't know what you define as science. I define science as pure evil that we have adopted somehow, and I don't know how. How could we end up like this? Honestly. I have never actually encountered science in my real life. I never used it. What is that? Statistics is not science. And you actually will try and avoid statistics. Make it in your life. This is technically statistics, right? A YouTube map, statistics of who's doing best. This is not statistics. This is bias. From my perspective, everyone could say, point a finger at me and say it's a biased fucking and I would say it's a personal statistic. Okay? My YouTube map is not a bias, is just a personal taste statistic. In fact, science is gonna do exactly the same thing over and over again. There's gonna be a person who will stand out because he will pour a lot of passion into into his project, whether he's evil or not, whether he understands how much he can exploit science for his own benefit and his own pockets. The point is, he can do that, and I can't. and he will not be called out for a bias. He'll be called out for a scientist. I'll just gonna be called out for someone who has a personal taste and has expressed it, and I'm not important. What? I've been doing this a long time now. I have a bigger taste than you have. So shut the fuck up and learn size, okay? All people need to learn to negate science, and I know now where science comes from. Believe me, I know. Is to be able to compare. I'm sorry, dude, just compare two things together. What is more important? And what is more truthful? Okay? Usually truth will come all the way into the importance as well, and then importance changes the name into the influence. Okay? This is why I use influence to map out YouTube. But, more on that later. So it seems like I do have a personality. Not just capable of destroying science, but capable of standing on its own. That's the most important part. It's so annoying because I have to live every day like this and wait for life to start. Essentially, kickstart my life. But it's never gonna start until people keep on resisting me. You know, until the society keeps on non-existing for me. Keeps on running away. Oh no, I like capitalism. Right now it's spotlighted and you're deadlighted. So you must be evil. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like fucking judging someone by their appearance, by the color of their skin, by the first fucking thing that you see, and you run away and you feel those typical emotions. You scratch your surface and you run away, and it's so fucking pathetic if you just scratch surfaces and pretend that you know something. Maybe you need to become a part of science now. Science community. That actually, you know, science, it's more of a torture than anything. You have to over-observe something, some kind of behavior, where you already have a good idea of what is happening. You have a good idea and you can follow that idea. Because that idea is very important. If you can follow it with heart, quickly, it's important. But here you go. Truth plus importance equals overall influence. Okay? Usually, truth is what is useful to you. It's an enhancement of your perspective. So most of the time you can't really accept truth unless it's completely new and fits your narrative. So you can only upgrade yourself, you can only upgrade your truth and not necessarily adopt different truths. Because you don't want to conflict with yourself all of the time. But sometimes it's fine, sometimes you can afford it. Especially if you don't go to school or a job, which is why people are so in such silence. People are easily silenced by their way of life, of busy life. They're easily silenced, so they're just gonna pick up whatever science gives them. And it seems like it's working because people are surviving just fine, right? Well, I'm telling you, there is a shadow. It's eating people, and science just like, yeah, take it. Take it. Take those people. We don't care. We just do science. Of how much this shadow is gonna slow down if it's trying to eat a person. You know, how much more time will I get on my clock? Scientists will wake up one day in reality. Scientists often will wake up and realize they need to weaponize science. Just to protect themselves. To live another day, basically. To make it relevant. You know, to make government interest in that and investments, to get government investments. They weaponize everything. Immediately. Immediately something starts working, they weaponize it, they sell it to the government uses it against everyone else. Because the government loves to intimidate you more than science does. Science is just a branch to feed the government its power, basically. To feed the military its power. But it's less technological feedback or whatever. And it's more of a psychological. It's the way science kind of finds a way to manipulate people, and it immediately informs the government, this is what you have to adapt to, because we're going to start manipulating people in this particular fashion. And here you go. That's interesting. Interesting! But could Shadow be a little bit more smarter than that? What happens when the Shadow outsmarts science? And now, in this case, the Shadow is the looming doom that science is going to be cracked down and completely obliterated. And why? This is going to exactly explain why science exists. Because right now, the Shadow isn't capable of outsmarting science. Why is that? First of all, we spend a little bit too much time being busy. So we're already silenced. So the Shadow doesn't actually have a voice. Voice is something that breaks down science. Because every time the Shadow shows up and is like, I don't understand what you want. Eat this human. Eat this pretty human being. Do whatever you want. Do whatever, Mr. Shadow. You look healthy. Okay. You can do whatever. Just don't attack me, please. I'm just a scientist. Well, see, the most difficult thing to outsmart is when? Okay. When the Shadow what happens? Obviously, science just falls apart. Just gives up. And the torture begins. Because there is no way out. What science has been ignoring this whole time, the Shadow opens up for them and snatches them. It's a light switch. It becomes a light switch, basically. That's what happens. Light switch. Poof. All that it was in the darkness becomes the light, and everything that was in the light becomes the darkness. Right? Because science, essentially, the way to outsmart science is to make them fear, consume all the humans, and do the light switch. And it's like, well, all we have left is science. You have been running away for such a long time, and you have grouped up in this special little fucking, group of people. That's how you call yourself. And honestly, there's only one thing left to do, to turn you into a Shadow. See if you survive. You know, like, now you just become me. There's no need to outsmart science. We just need to find a way to shadow them from influence entirely. That's what Shadow is. Shadow is inability to influence. Right now it's looming on the science because they're the ones kind of escaping that, bending reality, influencing people. Cool. And it's interesting. Now we have to just define it, start pushing people who still believe in science into their little circle. You live alone. You live in your little fucking group now. We don't give a fuck. And you will realize how easy it is to push them away from you. You just act dumb and they will accept it. Scientific-minded people will immediately accept when you say something dumb. They will immediately get offended because, but I want to influence you. You will become smarter when I influence you. No. Maybe you don't get the message. Maybe you don't get the message. In order to have influence, the first thing you have to do, in order to have influence, the first thing to do is make it positive. Oh, I'm sorry. Is my influence positive when I say I hate science? Is it positive all of a sudden? Is it positive when I say, oh, but think about it. Do you actually use science in your life? Or do you want to know how to be a better speaker, a better communicator, have better relationships, have a better job? All these things, you think you need science, but science is only going to tell you what's generally successful 5 years ago. Well, what's generally... No. What's generally successful is anything you like. Your life should be lived in absolute freedom. Okay? This is what science takes away from you. And this is why science is exactly hand in hand regulation. A hidden name you didn't even thought exists. Science is exactly regulation. Exactly. There's nothing different about these two words. And this is why it's so fucking sad. It's exactly it. When you go to school, you gotta wake up at 8 a.m. because science. The sun will wake you up naturally like that. You will wake up in the morning. So that's science for you. That means you will most of the time be awake. And you now have to follow the regulation of going to school at 8 a.m. Okay. That's one regulation. Okay. Then we regulate of how many maximum groups of people can be in one classroom. So we decided it's going to be from 15 to 30. Regulated. Okay. The regulations sometimes help. They're not entirely useless. Just like science is not entirely non-existent, There has to be something that allows it to exist. So what is that? This time we can ask why regulation exists. What is it trying to accomplish? But I will say to do, because whatever. Accomplish is a stupid ass long word. So, to amplify the voice of the teacher. The teacher has such a shit voice, such a shit technology. We pity teacher. It's pity party for teachers, boy. Pity party for teachers. Whatever that might be. Pity party for job givers, employers. Sure. Normally you should just go to work and work. Why should you come in a specific time? If all work is taken and done, there's no help that you can do. Well, tough luck, you'll come back next time and see what happens next time. Whatever, dude. So, yeah, I remember the story about Socrates. You just sit in the middle of the street or stand or whatever. Just be there and you talk to people if they want to talk. That's it. That's the teacher right there. Well, a lot of people would want to talk. Like, why not? What else are you going to do in life? Especially in ancient times. So technically, we created this pity party for teachers, so we try to amplify their importance, but we don't actually pick up the perfect teachers anyways. So the entire school system is just fake. It's just an attempt for science to grab something. So science is also constantly attempting to grab something beautiful. So all of a sudden, after 1,000 of years, 2,000 of years, after many books have been written by a bunch of teachers, we still want to grab and amplify specific people who live right now, who haven't died and fought for to leave a book behind for you to read. Yeah, if those teachers praise constantly and are passionate about reading books or consuming these incredible materials, YouTube is actually just a playground for kids. I would say that you might want to read books instead of watching YouTube. After all these hours that I've spent, you might want to read books. It's incredible what I'm saying right now. You might want to read books instead of watching YouTube. Now, if you educate yourself hard enough, maybe you can escape that realm of book reading. For me, I grow out of it. Obviously, just a natural progression for me. But for a lot of people who are being born into this world and who would go to school right now, they have been born with some crazy technologies in their hands, and they might not know how to use it and how to actually learn from it. And just experiencing a book is just books are laying around everywhere. In my home, there's plenty of books. There's journals of any kind, but you obviously have to pick up something that's kind of old to understand the struggle of writing a book. That's all I'm asking for. Just understand the struggle. So I would say not instead, before full-time watching YouTube. Okay, no. You might want to read some books and dive into that world, where the world is even slower and more influential, because your brain has to fucking work now to fill in the gaps, basically. It's not easy at all. And it's that struggle of communication, of thin layer communication, that should be fascinating to you. And again, you don't stare at the screen that's, shining at you and blinding you with a light. Now you pick up a book, something very, very physical, something you can give to other people as a gift. This stuff is valuable now. Books are fucking valuable, all of us. Can you imagine? Every physical item that you can give to another person is pretty valuable, basically. But even gifting needs a little bit of a revamping. I don't know. You have to make the book interesting and then create an auction, basically. If you want to give gifts at school, just make an auction. Who wants the book most? It's like, I'll give you 1 cent, I'll give you 2 cents, and people will learn how to evaluate things even. But it's not about that. It's like the auction part is missing entirely, because there's some people who will get a gift they didn't want that gift at all. It's not valuable for them, and you have wasted, both of you have wasted time and energy and emotions, and everything has been fucking wasted. But here you go. Before gifting something, maybe an auction is more appropriate. Okay, maybe it's a little bit more appropriate and someone finds value. Entertainment can come in any other form anyways. In fact, pointing upwards, every game should be sold exactly in this model. Every piece of entertainment media, everything. It falls in price until someone picks up and starts bidding on it. But it's not about that. It's like the reverse auction. It goes from a very, very high price and it keeps on bouncing a little bit based on how many people want to grab it. And it keeps on... Oh, you still want it. And it's a normal way the price goes. But this is a price of entertainment. Of people actually waiting when this thing comes down. And they create a bid, basically. This kind of works in RuneScape, too. This kind of bidding system already works in RuneScape. In fact, RuneScape could be exactly that bidding system where if you get enough of a certain item, you can buy a movie, basically. It literally could, at any point, people could be like, oh, this is a cool idea, let's do it. You can buy movies now through RuneScape. What? What? Yeah. And people keep bidding, and this allows for like certain movies to come in like packages. So you use the same resource to buy a movie or whatever. And then all of a sudden, RuneScape Marketplace is looked at completely differently, as every single item is a token. Literally a token. What cryptocurrency is trying to do, RuneScape already has it in its economy. And it's fucking insane. Because it's even more insane because there are many tricks. There are many weird ways of like acquiring these tokens. So you might want to educate yourself a little bit to not be tricked. But hey, it's part of the fun, man. It's ridiculous. What's wrong? So, or any other MMO, I guess. There's more to experience for me, but I'm just trying to be very, very generic as always. I'm trying to be understandable. My circle of interest is as small as possible so you can actually kind of equip the knowledge of everything that I have quite easily. Except for YouTube, my YouTube interest is pretty expansive, so I'm not sure you can keep up with that. But still, I kind of start rewatching videos instead of seeking new creators. I'm not into that, really. So, anyone can catch up, actually. Not that invested, despite being a YouTube CEO. I'm just, that's what I do. It's just what I do naturally. Naturally, I'm invested. But I might not be able to escape the repetition. Now, I obviously sometimes find a new channel and I'm like, wow, that's influential. It talks about important things. Especially right now when I was doing the rant. I adopted Prager University. I adopted John. Talking about governments. So, I adopted 2 channels already in a week. That technically is pretty decent. 2 channels in a week adopted. Decent. So there's nothing to complain about. Like, you can't beat nature most of the time. But that's not something to talk about at all. I have to smash science. Did we spend an entire hour already? Oh boy. Science takes away your freedom, regulates your life. It's so boring and stupid, essentially. And slow. And uninteractive. And it's like it makes you feel like you know something, but you know that you don't know something. It just satisfies. It's incredible. Incredible how science destroys schools. Because it... What? Why are you trying to destroy schools? Well, they can't help it. Science will overregulate things. Naturally. And it will destroy our interest in those things. Because they're now regulated. Every time science is trying to step up and grab something. Well, tell the people what you want to grab, okay? Tell the people. We're going to figure out our ways, okay? And it's going to be more and more regulated over time by us, naturally. So you want to grab a certain person, put it in a classroom, and make him talk to young people. Is this what you want? What do you want? Science will figure out a way to do it. Okay? What science wants, that's a little bit of a different story, perhaps. You know, because science doesn't want to be eaten by the shadow, and potentially, besides, like, oh, eat those people, science does not want to lose people at the same time. Science looks at people as protection. So, obviously, they don't want to shred their hopes and dreams. So that's cool. What science wants is pretty valuable, I think. This is like what every other person would want. Dreams are valuable just generally. It's unbelievable, but dreams are the purest form of anything ever. So congratulations. If science has dreams, I'm happy about you. Except, like, yeah, they will pursue one dream for a long, long time until it turns into toxic waste. It's crazy, but here you go. Just tell us what you're trying to do. We'll do the rest. Science wants to say exactly what is the best way to do it. No. Figure out exactly what you want. Use science for that. You can use science for that. You know exactly what you want, what kind of choice you want to make in life. Whatever. If you want to over-observe something, you can do that. But don't take away people's freedoms and call it like... That's... Because imagine this, you know. Will the world really change and stop enslaving children? You know, will that ever happen? No, schools will always be re-education camps for you to become a honorable piece of society. Be humiliated against God, but you will get money for that. So, if that's worth it. And then you realize, oh, the God is giving me so much power, I feel like a god. And I feel I have been humiliating myself this whole time. So probably shouldn't be God anymore. And this is where you get demoted and teared down. By yourself, basically. Literally by yourself. Now I have many, many problems of my own caliber. My own level problems. And as long as nobody observes those problems and points a finger at me, As long as I can hide those problems, congratulations me. I don't have to solve them, because I'm not offending anyone. Guess what, you know? But, this is sarcasm, by the way. So we reach grade F, the lowest score. Or is it the failure score? Wah! I failed this test. But, science, please. Yeah, science sometimes does a good thing where, like, they find out what kind of regulation people would accept in general. But, our tolerance to regulation always shrinks. Always. Science has to back the fuck off before it explodes, man. Back the fuck off before we fucking start eating scientists. I'm getting hungry, dude. The shadow is hungry. That's the only way, basically. And we'll have less science, but, you know, all of a sudden we'll realize, oh, we don't actually need it. Huh. It's just, you know, the problem is on them and not actual good people who are doing their own thing. And saying that you're doing your own science is also a little bit iffy. What does that mean? I have never picked up a meaning of what science is. I believe I actually looked at the definition of science, and I didn't like it very much. The intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of writing words and putting them into my head. So I don't actually know what that means. I don't know what intellectual means. I don't know what encompassing means. What the fuck does encompassing means? You make sure that you have a map already? A mapping study? Why are there so many words already? Okay, so intellectual. It's already a negative word, by the way. It either is negative or doesn't mean anything. Intellectual. I'm very intelligent. I have glasses. That's what intellectual means. It has nothing to do with smarts, almost. It's almost like appearance can be intellectual. You can have an intellectual behavior. You can interact with people intellectually, where you outsmart them, but you're not actually smart. You're just intellectual, means that you're educated to be smart. You're educated to trick people that you're smart. You can behave as if you're smart. You can intimidate people. This is almost like parallel to intimidation, being intellectual. So intimidation, we have to translate this whole fucking thing, and I will take forever to do it. Fuck my life, dude. I just Google one thing and my life is ruined. We have to fucking translate this across across all 9 points, basically. We're gonna attempt to translate using 9 points. Point number 1, intellectual simply are the means of peaceful, or rather, imagine this. You kill someone and you're clean. Clean intimidation. That's what it means. So I can cleanly kill you right now. I can cleanly enslave you right now. That's what intellectual means. It's useless in general. I don't want to fucking look up the definition of intellectual because we're gonna go down a rabbit hole of insanity, man. Insanity. But this is kind of how you have to work with my work. Anything you think you don't know as a definition that I used, you gotta look it up. Definition of intellectual. Wow. Relating to intellect. Okay. The faculty of reasoning and understanding objectively, especially with regard to abstract matters. Oh, so you say has nothing to do with intimidation? Including the fact that I don't know what intellect actually is. If it's directly linked with I'm smart. Intellectual. But what? Why is it this kind of word? It feels completely different at what smart is. Smart. A certain type of art. Okay? It's just a certain type of art. You're smart. You're a very interesting person. You're smart. Intellectual. You present yourself as smart. There's no other way for me to say it, dude. A presentation of smart. But this is even worse. Because we're talking about science, we go to the maximum evil, which is clean intimidation. And now, let's figure out the faculty. I don't know what faculty means. I know what reasoning is, obviously, and understanding objectively. Are these the same things? Are these different? What understanding objectively? What is objective understanding even is, man? What is that? What is that? Oh my god. So objectively means no ego, right? Okay, let's... Objective understanding is ego self-destruction. I don't... experience, I would say. Experience. You want to go through that experience? It really feels nasty, dude. And if people keep on torturing themselves like this, I feel sorry for them. But the pity part that we're gonna throw is shadow eating people. Okay? Specifically science. People related to science, okay? Especially with regard to abstract matters. What the fuck? Oh, yes. Especially. So now we know. Intellectual is a person who tortures himself so much to be able to cleanly intimidate someone. Okay? Wow, finally. We found a dead end. I don't know what the faculty means. But fuck it, you know? It's trying to say this is a special kind of word, basically. Intellectual. Intellect is reasoning and understanding objectively. Oh my god, man. Holy shit. Again, this is why I'm scared shitless to try and read something. Oh my god. Google something up, some kind of any information of any kind, man. My mind is gonna explode how stupid it is. Written. It means nothing to me. It has not enough context. So might as well just put it in some simple way where you can laugh at. It's just that. and you turn around and it's just that, you know, that they just mean that. But no, this actually means much more now. Intellectuals torture themselves to improve the skill of torture. You know, they destroy their self-ego. They become very objective observers of life. Oh, very objective. Congratulations. Are you an object? Can I use you as a sex doll real quick? You know, now at least we understand how we're gonna eat science, you know? How we're gonna use them. Holy fucking shit, man. I'm very dizzy right now. I just found my greatest enemy of all time. The tastiest enemy as well. Yeah, I can't wait to just attack schools and eat scientists. Just, Scientist just comes up to me and like, you know, science is actually a form of slavery or enslavement, whichever you choose. You know, whether you choose to provide this religion to other people, like just like every other religion, you know, it's gonna start enslaving you. But I can set you free. You just have to follow these simple steps. Explain what this means, you know? We're gonna put them in the rabbit hole, basically. Just explain me what, science means? Because I love it, right? People can try and defend science, but it would be funny if they can't define it. That would be quite funny, I would say. But I will keep myself from laughing, because I want to, you know, revenge on some people. Well, I'll have to wait for that. Because right now, science is so fucking dominant force of the universe. You know, they will put me to sleep easily, man. And I'll dream about the best things in the world that I can have before I actually have it. So, I'll take the deal. Have too much power. I bet science is so fucking toxically powerful that they just literally press a button, toxic gas comes out of nowhere and puts me to sleep, and I'm like, and the next time I wake up, I belong to a completely different family of people. I relate to completely different. My basically identity got erased, but they fixed my life basically. Basically, Jack's Films showed up and fixed my life. Okay, this is why I can't beat science. If I tried to beat science, I will either get a phone call from PewDiePie or get a PewDie call or Jack's Films will fix my life. That's what's up, man. Either or, man. There's probably more options, but let's not focus on that part. So the intellectual or unpractical activity encompassing the systematics. Whoa! I'm in complete next space level, dude. I'm trying. I'm really trying. Am I a bad reader or something? Of the a study of. So maybe shut the fuck up. It's like, oh, well, science is so very fucking fancy, basically. So this means fancy. Okay? Fancy and evil. Study of what? Fancy and evil study of what? Of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. What would be my definition of science? Okay, my definition of science. Science. Study anything. Study the smell of shit. That's science right there. I literally did that. I put down. It's like, there's certain scientists that just smell of shit. And that's probably science too, you know? And I'm like, that was in biology class, and the teacher was so upset. She announced it to the entire class, and I'm like, at least it didn't say who fucking did it. But I did it. It's the best joke ever, man. The best joke. I laughed so fucking hard every time I remember it. It's a crazy joke, man. Study anything, especially. Science, study anything, especially. Oh. Actually, forgot how to write down especially because I became insecure. Especially the smell of shit. Because guess what? Most of the time, again, I say science is completely useless, so I don't understand. What kind of fancy little fucking study of what? Structure and behavior. Who cares? You observe all the time. You experiment. And experiment means experience things. Okay? You experience things for the first time sometimes in your life. There's sometimes first times of something. It's your first dive in, and you experiment by actually repeating it. Not making it the first time. The first time it's probably the experience. The second time is more of an experiment, less of an experience. It's almost like a 50-50. So just, if you live your life will include science. Wow! But you have to basically be evil. Evil and fancy. You have to encompass a systematic, practical activity. Very Can you imagine someone saying practical activity? Someone saying it's fucking useful? It's a very useful thing. So it naturally happens in everyone's lives, you fucking pieces of shit, man. Practical activity. That means everyone does it already. Everyone does whatever science you think it is, but I don't think that. Because I think there's a huge portion of science that's completely useless, and I fucking hate it right now. Yeah, sure, it's cool to, like, test a capacity of a battery. It's like, well, we're gonna discharge and charge. It's a test. It's not a test through science. It's just a test. What's gonna happen? What's the capacity of this battery? You just answer a question. You did a little bit of a scientific experiment. But can you really call it the science? No, you just did something scientific. Scientific means you can claim it as a piece of scientific work and combine it to a huge ball of science that everyone likes to contribute to, you know. So the question is now, can we go even further now? There is a ball of science. Can we smash it? Let's go, man. There's a ball of science somewhere. I wanna smash it. Fuck that shit. Stop building balls. It's fucking stupid. I contribute to science. That's right. Everyone feels like they're contributing, basically. It's almost like PewDiePie sits down and watches memes, and everyone is like, I contribute to PewDiePie when I post on his Reddit. I contribute to him specifically. Okay. Whoa. You let him decide what's gonna happen to your work? So immediately that's the question. If you are contributing, aren't you just giving up something for free? Question mark? It's almost like magic. You don't tell your tricks of how they're done. You're just trying to mesmerize people. And, you know, you hold something valuable. They can't figure it out. They stay mesmerized. You stay interesting. You look smart. You don't actually look intellectual when you do magic. Actually, yes, kind of. You look more of a smart little clown than an intellectual piece of shit that's trying also maybe to contribute to a bigger ball of science that has actual gravity. Probably ball of science has invented gravity itself. That's what gravity is, science. That's literally what it is. The definition of gravity is science. If you make a big enough ball, it becomes a ball. The world becomes a ball. But it's not about flat Earth. It's about balls, man. It's contributing to science. Let's go. So, yeah. I could add an emoji representing that I took this as a quote. But it's a little bit too obvious. This is foreign material infecting me. It's the first time that ever happened, where I have to clip something and put it as a quote for how stupid it is. I know what every other word means, so it's good. Good that we ended up in just 2 searches and not in a rabbit hole of insanity. And I just deleted the faculty or whatever word. Fuck that. Faculty? So you mean it's something physical actually now? Intellect. Very physical. Faculty. Yeah. No, thank you. So anyways, we have dissected, as I've said, in 9 points. Aren't you just giving up something for free? So let's reread those points. Maybe we'll come up with something. So obviously we have the evil intellectual bullshit. We have magicians who are clowns more than intellectuals. So they want to mesmerize you and make you feel impressed, not necessarily and force you to learn something. If you want to mesmerize yourself, you will. If you want to figure it out, you will. There should be enough material to get that, but to force everyone to do one thing and expect one thing to happen, like let's say magic is now a mandatory thing to learn. What the fuck does that mean? That means that there's gonna be a huge split of people who actually want to learn it and who don't want to learn it. And I know at some points in school you get to choose what you want, and that's cool. And honestly, most important part, I think, of school experience is I put a little bit too much pressure here on schools. Schools don't matter as much as you think. It's more of a all the way up to 18 years, you can be as traumatized as you can get. Fuck that shit. Maybe it's almost like a positive experience. Maybe science figured out one thing and one thing only, that they can do that. But now it's just supposed to become common logic. You can traumatize people, especially if you do it peacefully and they don't actually get hurt, because children don't really care. Okay, but they're in an environment where they can care about various things, and that's pretty cool. This is why I don't put schools yet again. I just took away that definition for myself. You sit through my shit. I'll give you a week of school every time you complete a week of education. Every time you complete one video, that's an entire week of education. Besides, this streak of videos is gonna end any time now. I will relax. I will set myself free. I know the end is near. We'll figure out how to satisfy ourselves to the best of our abilities. But for that we have to work so hard. Incredibly hard, and for fucking free. And the question is, have I not done my part of science? Do I have to contribute it somewhere? Do I have to really stress myself out just so other people can hear me? What? Hear my point of view? No, science actually discourage contribution or competition. Nobody should want to do science, basically, right now, because they'll be laughed at. Oh, you're actually doing a lot of effort for science. And you can be laughed by anyone or science themselves who just tricked, they're influenced, or they weaponize their science. So it's way more trickier than it seems, right? They figure out the science of how to make science. It's a whirlwind of insanity, basically. It has to be shut down before it lays eggs. The science of how to make science. I know that. You can stack logic. You can understand the logic of how to... You can learn how to learn. That's what you can do. And technically, you can do the science of science, but that's not exactly the same thing. Learning how to learn is just like reaching a next tier of learning. A deeper understanding of what learning is and how to do it from a further distance. But when science distance themselves by using science, they're actually distancing themselves with way more. So, using science will distance you from emotional understanding. You won't understand it fully emotionally anymore. You won't be influenced emotionally. So if you want to distance from something, you pick up science and you don't care as much, basically. This is why, again, governments and mainly presidents always going to use science and bring up science, so they have that emotional, reduced emotional needs to understand something of what's actually going on. If you really want to help people, you need to get down and observe and create your own scientific point of view. Creating your own scientific point of view, I wouldn't call it science anymore. I would call it just hard work, hard experimentation, self-sacrifice, a volunteering job, a job as a volunteer. I want to be a part of this environment type of job. That's the only way you can do it peacefully. You can't just grab people from their environments, promise them some kind of payment, and do science on them. It's already ruined. People that you picked up are garbage now. You ruined them. The moment science picks up a person, that person is ruined. This is why the experiment is so famous of science picks up a person. Let's see how much we can intimidate that person to torture another person who's not necessarily directly emotionally showing. It's behind a wall, basically. It's hidden. You're torturing a person who's hidden, but he can still talk. This is literally science educating of what science looks like. Science loves torturing people and allowing them to only talk back to them. And you can talk back. You have that superpower. I'm sure you can out-intimidate us while we have the weapon of literal control. Electrocution, just we can do whatever we want. It's like, well, obviously I have to choose silence. I have to choose patience until you get bored. But you decide not to fucking kill me because you're also scared at the same time. So you can't just use silence to beat science. You know, this is the real experiment. The real experiment, science puts on a collar on you, and you have to intimidate them before death. Okay, can you do that? Can you escape that form of death? When someone already decided, well, I'm probably gonna kill you. But let's make a little bit of an experiment out of it, okay? Let's see if you can change my mind. You know, I'm not trying to be evil or whatever. So, it's a literal emotional gameplay, basically. Can you really create an emotion that will stop, that's so unstoppable that I will have to obey you instead of my need to kill you, basically? That's the translation of what the actual experiment was about, okay? Because when we're dealing with science, we want to deal with the maximum evil. Then we start to understand things for who they really are, what they're really pointing towards at, okay? Because every time we're like, oh, this experiment is interesting, what if we amplify this a little bit? Well, I made it to the max. We meet the maximum capacity of what the actual experiment looks like. So fucking deal with it now. It's always about death. And it's always about, I don't want to do nothing with science because this is what they would probably want to do in the end. Okay, the ultimate experience they could get. The ultimate battle. Give me, make me emotional, and I'll let you go. Laughing does not count. Yeah, okay. Laughing does not fucking count. Turning into a clown makes me want to kill you even more. Shit. That sucks, man. Well, I can easily make you angry. And that anger is never gonna go away unless you know, give someone the job to deal with something. You know, when anger is a special emotion, asking you for something to be done. So all of a sudden, you have exact emotion that you want to control science with. So, if they're trying to put a collar on you, you gotta be angry. You gotta show already that you have the capacity to be angry. Against strangers, against strange technologies, all that shit. If you don't have that capacity, they got you, baby. They fucking got you, man. And it's the craziest thing ever, because we're diving into literal torture right now. A torture simulation. This is what science turned out to be, apparently. Very, very mixed up fucking definition, isn't it? Where's that written over here? And apparently there actually is a word, as we found out. There's actually a word that defines science immediately. The intellectual. The intellectual study. Oh, wow. So intellectual means that you are above the human race and you can do whatever the fuck you want now. Because I want to be smart. I'm not just looking smart. I also want to be smart. Because look at how smart I look. You know, I'm ready to be smart. You know, oh my god. I'm so ready. It's literally what school teaches you. To be ready to be smart. To be hungry for some knowledge. If it's easy enough to grasp. Oh, if it's easy knowledge, I'll take it. If it's difficult and I don't understand it, I'll just ignore it. And I'll cheat if I have to. So, I don't know. It's fucking dumbass, man. How much stupidity do I have to deal with? Like, I will literally need a PewDiePie call. PewDie call. Tomorrow or something. My brain will not fucking survive another day with this insane. Obviously, I put everything in one place right now. I should distribute it. But I have limited amount of rent videos that I can make. I will not make them next year. Potentially. Okay. I want to say everything I possibly can. And I give myself 3 hours to do it. There's no possible way science is going to escape this time from me, you know. My power level is over 9,000. What are you going to do? There's no way, man. This is game over. The final battle begins. Again, science has nothing to do with technology. Just observe. It doesn't even have technology as a shield. Physical and natural? What about technology? Things... It turns nature into some weird creature that we don't understand. And physically... You know, what does that even mean? A physical world? Is this technology? Actually? I don't get it, dude. What is the difference, even? Physical and natural. Whoever wrote this, you know, is just a dumbass. Who just get to write this down. That's a very sad moment. Obviously, if you want to do the scientific proof of this is why I fucking hate it. It's like, well, there is a definite bias because you only picked one definition from Google. You have to take definitions from the entire universe. That's what I do. I take it from my brain. I consume as much information. I organize as best as I can. I have the definition, essentially. If you are smart and organize everything you consume, you know all definitions. All definitions, motherfucker. You don't have to worry about it that much. You just have to keep being smart about it. Wow. How difficult is that? Apparently impossible. Apparently only people who write down on Google definitions can get all the credit. But that's just because we give credit, okay? We love, and this is more important thing. Remember what government does with convenience? While government destroys convenience, we love it. We love convenience. While government secretly destroys what we love it even harder. And it's way more controlled all of a sudden. What's convenient now is being given to you almost in an inconvenient fashion. So convenient that it's not convenient anymore. But that's how government destroys convenience. Okay? They give you only a very small set of solutions. Maybe give you an illusion of choice. And that's it. But in order for something to feel convenient, it must not be regulated. It must be free for any person to be able to succeed in life. Like, obviously. What is this? What kind of crazy shit is this? Anyways, I definitely have to take a break. We have been attacking science non-stop half of the way down. But I now need a break. As you can tell, it's gonna be a success. It's gonna be 3-hour rant. And I definitely hate this. I hate it a lot. I hate it a lot more than pickup bullshit. But it all comes down to, like, what is this thing? Why is it so tied with regulations? All of a sudden, this bad behavior of testing people and torturing them. Just for fun. Technically, science is just a fun little thing eventually. Because you have to really know what science ends up being after you've done all this work. What is your work gonna do now, all of a sudden? Like, yeah, I would love to know my influence too. And it's so important to know your influence and make sure that the evil influence is not something I propagate anymore. And I change my behavior based on what people are influenced by the most, right? But most of the time, what people are influenced is fucking fascinating. When people are allowed to say bad things your way, they're trying to negate your influence, basically. People are often trying to negate influence by being assholes. You know, the simplest way of negating influence. Well, what happens if I'm an asshole? Are you gonna be nice to me or not? It's literally the test mode of, are you gonna be nice to me? Whether I'm an asshole or not? You obviously can't be nice to an asshole. So you're gonna say exactly that. I can be nice to you, but I can still give you a reason why you shouldn't say that or whatever. Why you shouldn't try and give me this asshole. I don't know. I just can't. Or you just say, I can't be nice to you, so I probably don't. I don't want to say anything to you. But I don't know why did you say it in the first place. What's the point? What are you looking for? You know? Do you actually think I can expand myself? Can you imagine like a YouTuber trying to expand everywhere and being nice to everyone? That's impossible. It's your capacity that you're supposed to contribute. This is the moment where people actually need to contribute and be nice. Wow. And eventually, then your influence really shines, because if a YouTuber is incapable of collecting nice influence, then a YouTuber really sucks ass eventually. Okay? But if you just gave up and became an asshole, it's probably worth just wiping off YouTube comment section entirely. And I'm ready to not even deal with that anymore, because I know what internet is about. Okay? I know. So if I'm ready, basically. I know it's a little bit nice influence to have, but now that I'm in the position of full control of what kind of influence comes my way, it feels pretty okay. I'm not gonna lie. It feels that that's something a lot of people would desire to have. And, cool. You can start sending influence my way if you want. You know, it's up to you. If you think I can't handle it, because I haven't trained myself to do it while not doing it. Of course, that's fine. How do you train yourself to do something when you're not doing it? Crazy. Well, preparation happens all the time. We prepare ourselves for greatest risks that our life, the greatest turns that our life is going to take. So I'm prepared to take criticism or whatever. Because I criticize myself all the time. I feel insecure all the time, especially in silence. And I would be very disappointed if it goes nowhere, right? So essentially I will break myself first before I break science. Or those evils of the world. Before I start breaking them, I'll break myself a lot. Until I finally break. And I can't control myself, I just have to attack because my time is running out. It's very simple and justifiable cause. My time's running out. Please pay attention to me. Right now, after I prepared myself for so long, so I must be able to fucking handle it after all. Okay, so I'm exactly observing people's behavior right now and how they handle attention, what mistakes they do. Essentially, this perfectionist way of living for me is something that other people can possibly do anymore. I have outdone them. I am probably one of the most prepared people to handle attention, which is quite fascinating to me. And I'll come back to you after the break. For fuck's sake. Stupid. I can't just put down the brick and let it stay properly. Stupid brick. Well, whatever. Here it is. Yeah, I literally can't watch things anymore. I would have watched something like... We're at Degrade. Let's forward this. So there are 2 TED Talks I would have watched. Dangers of Science Denial. And something else. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I can look it up. It's all the way in my hand right now. Battling bad science. Okay. Well, I'm battling bad science right now because it's all of it, basically. And dangers of science denial, there is no danger. Okay? There is no danger. So, literally his opening speech is time travel. And, you live longer because we defeated smallpox, some kind of fucking disease, basically. I don't know what smallpox is. Guess what? I don't want to know. I would love to have diseases all over my face right now, because at least that is stress that I don't have to create out of rage of how fucking disgusting science is right now. It's ridiculous. I would rather die. I am dying so fucking often that me living longer doesn't mean jack fucking shit. Is almost like my dough has been stretched out and I'm suffering just as much as a person in the past. This is why people want to travel into the past, not into the future, because we still have to fix issues constantly to be able to live a good life. We have to do that constantly. There is no escape. But if people create another religion after religion, we just create another form of warfare. I mean, just for me, warfare is a never-ending bullshit. And as much power as military has to just destroy everything and reset the world, I don't know why they don't do it. You know, maybe they have very big hearts. Oh my god, I'm so fucking grateful for that. Why they don't do it? Because we're apparently very useful livestock to society or whatever. I don't know. If someone has incredible power, they have almost a responsibility to use that power. So I'm not sure what happens with the military, but it's even worse with something like diseases. Because one thing I know for sure, science is the stupidest way to research diseases. Diseases are very dangerous, by any means, because most of them are psychological. Most of them are tied into your behavior. What do you have to do to avoid certain things? And science, obviously, to avoid certain things, you have to be immune. Well, fuck you. Immune means either run away or just be naturally immune, which does not exist because you're always under a threat, so you must run away, or accept our vaccination. Basically, we're gonna create a disease for you, basically. Straight into your bloodstream. I don't even want to talk about vaccination. Vaccination is literally a death sentence. Okay? If someone forcefully vaccinates you, they forcefully attack you, basically. They straight up attack you. They straight up take away every freedom imaginable. Just with a single vaccine. How does that happen? Well, it's the least natural thing ever in human creation, basically. A computer is more natural than this. You can understand a computer because it's well, it's also not natural. But it's helpful. What is that? Can a vaccine live up to the expectations of what a computer is? No. Because a computer is something you can control. A vaccine is something you have to react to with your body. Your body has to react to it. It's an additional stress response, basically. Technically, it's a simulation of a disease. But, so we don't get any more reality anymore? We just get simulations of diseases all of a sudden? That's all we get? Reality's gone? And we live longer in a destroyed reality? Where diseases should be normal and you should be able to control them, just like you can control a computer. That's what it is, man. Should be able to control diseases like a computer. But if you're not learning how this computer works, your body works, you should learn a lot about it. And science should be the first thing to do, not vaccination, not direct attack against people. But why do they think that way? Why does science every single time their solution is to attack? Their solution is to defend themselves and their own self-esteem. Their solution is just to work for profit and help the government, basically. That's their solution. They have to exist in the first place. Well, and weaponize everything. I don't know, man. Even this thing is super cool. It's like global warming has probably like 95% influence on your life right now. Because that's what science would really love you to think about. And global warming, really important. The most important thing ever. And technically, what could be happening is like, well, we stopped expanding the Earth. We're not going to Antarctica anymore. So the sun keeps spiraling around us. Normally it would expand, actually, somehow. But so it's actually getting colder around us while it's getting warmer in general on Earth. If the sun shortens its cycles, for example. But yeah, that would be very observable thing, right? All of a sudden. And no one would be able to deny that, oh wow, we have to have new leap years or whatever if the day cycle shortens. So, I don't know. Where does the global warming even comes from? Well, it comes from all the gases that we release. I don't mind global warming. Actually, warming things is a lot more expensive than cooling them down. Wow, crazy. Crazy new idea, isn't it? So what's the problem? Well, the problem is they changed it to climate change, and I still have to talk about it, which I fucking hate. You are global warming denier too. Conspiracy people deny everything. Okay. Conspiracy people take this thing and strike through. Conspiracy breakers trying to escape useless scientific haunting, basically. Why science has to be like this super ultimate ghost of your decision making and cripple you so badly? What's the point? Is it really so important to change your carbon? Why do you have to worry about it? Why? It might not even change. You know, if nature knows how to adapt to things, and it certainly does, it certainly is difficult for us to self-destruct all of a sudden. And essentially, the more science there is, the easier it is to just break it, okay? And treat it as a conspiracy against us. Because if something useless is getting money and doesn't confirm the usage of something, especially NASA, this literally, I don't even have to say I'm a flat earther. I don't have to say anything. I think NASA is the most useless science I have ever seen. Space science is the most useless thing ever. That's getting funding right now. And the first thing they would do is just militarize that. Or maybe find some kind of energy to tap into. But then realize that it's not efficient enough. Because we have wasted so much fucking time researching things. We're so fucking interested into this thing. And we're forgetting, like, the actually important things. Slowly. We can dive into space and immediately forget ourselves of how important our life is, because your life is the only thing you have. What happens when you die? Oh shit, man. You don't want to die. So, and every single time you are distracting yourself with useless things, you're putting them into your mind, you slowly die. Your ego slowly dies. Okay, that's what science wants you to do, because they're so intellectual. They have died inside researching all these things. And they're like, oh, but if we make other people intellectual too, it makes us feel good, and the shadow... his shadow is gonna eat them first, right? Yeah. That's right, science. It will eat us them first. We're just gonna prepare. No shadow would actually attack pure personalities that are not liked. Shadow first, like... But it doesn't matter. I talked about the shadow. You understand how the light switch would work. Scientists survive till the very last moment and realize that they have been killing themselves this whole time trying to run away from something. And not fully understand what it truly means. When you just, don't run away from something immediately. When you feed it your fear. Like, this is the craziest thing. Science looks cool, but then it quickly feeds fear into every problem imaginable. So global warming is exactly the shadow. Every disease out there is exactly the shadow that science wants to feed into. And coronavirus could already be the actual shadow, basically. Something that will turn into science crunching demon, basically. Because why not? Why fucking not? People literally have natural coronaviruses in them. It's just wholly natural. We're under stress all the time. And science can look into our bodies and be like, oh, it's your body also battling something. Well, duh. But these are chemicals happening everywhere in your body because you created those chemicals. It's not like they came out of air or something. You literally create things if you learn fucking simple psychology and why you feel a certain way. Okay? Your mind is constantly playing a game and falling down in certain traps, and it's simulating reality just as hard as it can possibly do it. It doesn't allow you to even escape reality. You sleep, you still dream about it. There is no escape, literally. And then we sometimes live this ridiculous life of just nothing happens in our lives. We just work, we do nothing, and so the stress actually builds up because we're not capable of actually enjoying reality. So the actual stress of am I doing enough in life? Should I research what I should be doing, or is everything already given to you as a service? All you have to do is earn some money. Absolutely not. Don't do that. Don't just earn money. Earning wisdom is going to unlock you every single form of entertainment imaginable. So, again, I have unlocked crazy levels of free entertainment. Okay, and it's not just playing LOL, basically. League of Legends. I haven't even played the game, because nobody actually invited me to play the game. Okay, nobody came up to me and said, oh, this is actually cool. My friend circle did not introduce me to this, and I think it would be stupid if I tried. But yeah, it's popular. If I liked MMOs, maybe I would do it. If I really needed them in my life. But I already have a fucking Hearthstone game. I'm already getting enough anxiety as it is. Okay? I don't want nothing addicting. But here you go. That's my science. Is science shouldn't override your abilities to sense your feelings. Your sense of feelings and self-control. Where basically you shouldn't trust science at all. Because science literally does not deserve to be trusted. It has so much convincing power that it should convince you every time. Whenever you have a doubt, science should be able to convince you every time. Not intimidate you, not say, you have to do it because climate change. That's not an argument. You know? You have to do it because a disease name. And insert disease name right now. You have to do it because everyone does it, and that's science. Because I looked and researched, and everyone does it. So, and they're successful. They're more successful than the rest of the people who don't do it. Because everyone does it. There's so many biases that you have to research through that it slows you down so much, and you lose logic, basically. Because logic is the only thing that can actually read science in the first place. And guess what? It's better to take science in small quantities and not huge chunks and not become a scientist, basically. It's almost like a little toxin, that you intake. Science is like a little toxin. Take in small dosages. So literally what I expect to happen, if science still spreads out like a big-ass disease, and now it's like, well, we're under attack by this kind of virus, I'll pretend that this virus is gonna kill science once and for all. Obviously, it's not exactly a time for that, but you never know. Because things have to evolve constantly, and whenever the death of something comes, you just don't know. Maybe we're prepared for the next level to take a much greater responsibility for ourselves and really care for our health in a way that you don't have to run away from things. You have to learn how to be a goddamn fighter and help each other. Like, it's a very simple fucking problem that science created. Instead of making us help each other, now we hate each other. Congratulations. Congratulations, you pieces of shit. It's like, well, you do this wrong, it's gonna strike global warming a little bit closer now for us. So science can create all these looming, dooming pieces of shit things mistakes that you can make in your life. And you get restrained and you hate yourself, you hate everyone else, because all of a sudden everything is a mistake, everything is wrong. No, that's not it. That's why science is a fucking toxin. That's exactly why. taken in small dosages. Science will tell you most of what you do is wrong, and that is hypocrisy. That is fucking nightmare. Right there. That you have to live through. You're wrong. What's that, Tiny Mouse? I'm wrong. About what? I just say my opinions and thoughts and feelings, and I try to read everything that I am. Everything that I am. If I'm gone, I am nothing. And I don't care about nothing. Your influence is everything. So ability to influence people harder and harder, that's great. That's what science has. But it's not a positive influence, so it's wrong. Okay? If you don't empower people and you just cripple them, and imagine this, you have your limbs, you have your fucking legs, you're not a crippled person, but maybe your brain is split in half and filled with holes of scientific bullshit, and all of a sudden now, you're still a crippled person? You still can't do normal, everyday life tasks anymore. And what are those life tasks? You know, be a decent person, don't be a bad person. What if science just created a bunch of criminals too? What if science created a bunch of people who trust it so desperately they don't even know what to talk about on TED speeches? Wow. Now I have to watch their stupid videos and cringe into insanity. What if science created Susan, the CEO of YouTube, the CEO of science? Well, we're gonna add this new feature and... Shut the fuck up, Susan. Nobody likes you. We don't like you. Do something about it. What's the science of that? Science of everything is required, not science of specific things that you are wrong about. Because science can be really vicious about it. Yeah, you can de-weaponize science just the same way. Just like, you know, imagine this. So, you weaponize science so much, and all of a sudden you say that I'm wrong about everything, but then you have also a gun to my head. So I can't literally change my opinion. So technically, YouTube has weaponized everything and cleaned away all the conspiracy theories. We don't gonna have a discussion. And again, everyone complains about it because, you know, science should involve discussion, constant discussion. And science should be able to actually convince people again every time. Convince every time, because science should be equipped with that psychological strategies of how to convince people without intimidation again. Because intimidation is temporary. Intimidation is a gun to your head. But convincing someone is actually teaching them. You know, that's the fucking difference. Holy shit. You don't know that? I had to figure it out by sitting. How did I do it? Did I use science? Yes, I used science as my enemy. That's how I figured it out, okay? Is a gun to your head. You learn long term through being convinced. Okay? Through being convinced. So, figure it out. Because a lot of people are traumatized beyond belief. They have holes in their brain, and until you fill your entire brain, I don't respect the shit you say. Until you fill your brain. And you're happy. I don't care. Shit you say, motherfucker. I have zero respect for people like this. And eventually I feel that. I feel that I myself, I had to do a 360-degree turn and look around the entire world that I embody, basically. To be able to just withstand the stupidity of others trying to attack me for no good reason and trying to present me a stupid way of life. Well, here you go. Appropriate face. It was hard to find because I was looking for this. Actually, I was looking for a zipper, actually. Okay. Zipped mouth. Here we go. Oh, that's so tiny. Fucking crazy. Okay, whatever. I'll take it. You fill your brain. I will poke you. I'll try to make you unhappy. Okay? Don't just come to me and be like, oh, I have a little bubble of happiness. I poke it. I make sure that you're truly happy inside and you're just not just presenting yourself like that. Your happiness means everything. It means whether you want to fucking kill me or not, okay? Whether your fucking arguments are going to be intimidation or straight up from your heart, like how you actually feel. Because you can't really present how you feel if you're unhappy, then you know you're wrong, and you have to run, because if you fucking do something stupid, I'll do something stupid, just because you did. You started something, and the fire keeps raging on, and I'm like, oh yes. Thank you, gods. You gave me fire. You gave me someone who's gonna be fired from their job, who's gonna be humiliated in front of tons of people right now, because YouTube is going to be a horrible and wonderful place at the same time, okay? I can't wait for YouTube to be an actual battleground, but hey, Susan has to suck it up and fucking change a few rules if you want to actually unleash our bad, feelings onto the internet finally, and let it clash before it clash into reality. What's up, Susan? What is up? What the fuck is up right now? We need YouTube to help us understand stress and release it. That's the easiest road to happiness ever. Holy shit, am I fucking angry right now. Yeah, this is the final boss, guys. We're going to the X grounds. We already have reached the 4th final rank, which is B. Okay, we need 3 more. It should be fairly easy. 20 minutes each for each rank. Now, however, it is still a final boss. It's still going to be pretty outrageous. I might want to consume videos now because of how triggering they are and how it's so easy. It's so easy to just watch a video and be like, holy shit, this person is so wrong. So wrong, and he picks up the wrongest points to start with. His story. His way of convincing people. I am a speaker now. I am a cook for YouTube. I will convince you of everything, basically. Anything I want. And guess how I do it? I do it because I convince myself first. Because it's supposed to be useful. And that's the only way you can convince people. Again, how do you behave at school? You get intimidation. You get a gun to your head. You have to do this because you're gonna get a job. Or you're not gonna get a job. You're gonna get fired. You're gonna get humiliated in front of all these people that you grew up with, that you treat as classmates. And they are your fucking classmates now. Glass shards all over your body. You have to make sure that they respect you. Because they know you now. Wow. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know a lot of my classmates, and I don't give a fuck as much as nobody gives a fuck about anyone, honestly. But the trauma is always there, because you have to give a fuck. See, as much as the trickery goes on, school is an important trauma to remember as best as you can. Every little experience, because most of the time it's going to be the most intense time in your life and you don't even know it. Because you ignored a lot of things that happened to other people, not necessarily you. Because I try to stay away from trouble, but it is important to recognize like what everyone else has been doing, what everyone else has been up to. Were they traumatized in different ways and ruined their lives in a way? But technically, no, it's fine. You can adapt to any kind of way of life and you can outgrow this trauma. I'm not gonna trash anyone. I have my own perks and my own lack of opportunities or resources. It's all fine. It's just the clock is ticking, and yes, a hope is a terrible thing to have if I'm not taking action and I'm not making myself visible. Hope is a terrible thing to have. It's especially if people can just easily ignore me. But I have to hope that effort is always evaluated. That I am trying to do something and people are not just gonna attack me. Straight up. They can test me, but why attack me? Like, what's the point? That's already inhumane. So I don't expect that to happen. This is why you can quite have hope for anything. Especially just building up dreams is very valuable in life. Just simulating your dreams. Just living as if the only thing that matters is your dreams. Because it will constantly fuel your happiness and you're going to be, again, more convincing as a person. It's just a lot of people are so traumatized they only look into weapons first. And they say, immediately, a lot of people say, by the way, okay, a lot of people say, science convinced me you don't have big enough gun to do the same, pretty much. But it's almost like science convinced me of exactly that you have to have the big enough power to change someone's, mindset. And that's the biggest trauma you can ever have. And this is exactly what's going to set you back quite a few years until you fix this. You just need to fix this mindset that you need to be, that your mind is only going to change when someone puts a gun to your head, basically, of any kind of power over you, and you feel a small tiny piece of shit, and then you change your mind. That is a very bad time to change your mind, by the way. Okay? Back in the day when you were a child, you can change your mind because you are a small piece of shit. Okay? But if you change your mind in a survival situation, you know that's not good. It is so dangerous to change your mind in a survival situation. You don't want to show weakness ever. You must be able to run away. You must be able to fight back. You must be able to make the right choice and to be able to hold on to that choice. All these four things, these four elements, they will show up constantly and they request your attention to the fullest, to the extreme level. So fucking do it. I feel guilty of many things, but that doesn't mean I can't find the final boss and then clean up my bad habits later. Okay? If I feel like I have them. Because I know other people, whether they're traumatized or not, they still living decent lives as best as they can. I'm not trashing people, I'm trashing science. I'm trashing the thing that you might have to wake up and fight the final boss. Much harder than what I'm fighting right now, because I have been fighting it this whole time. I'm almost living an opposite life in a way. So I can't really predict what my life is. I live in a deadlight, first of all. I live in everyone else's shadow. So that's cool. As long as I can survive, I'll be the coolest person ever. And survival means sustaining everything about yourself. Just sustaining the sanity to everything. And it just makes you so much stronger. In the deadlights, I mean, I can already define every single light. As I introduced it last time. But I just said happy deadlight, everyone. You should be on a deadlight if you want to watch my videos for full potential, because you can fully relate to my personality of just a thinking, smart personality. The world for me, it feels like it's constantly challenging me with intimidation. It's asking me to be very patient until people start giving up and like, okay, you win. What do you want to do in life, basically? I really feel this is gonna be the case. I feel if I am patient enough, people will sucker up to me. Eventually. Eventually they will burn out. Burn out all of their intimidation. And intimidation makes me stronger. So I'm cool with it. There's a bigger problem. Basically. Ignorance is a big problem. Ignorance is something I can't really easily deal with. Intimidation is more like something where you're not ignored the first few moments. You're not ignored. But slowly the person wants to ignore you very hard. So they'll try. Some people just literally can't. But women, most of the time they can do almost everything just because of the power of gossip, the power of advice, of what should I do, basically. And it creates that mild intimidation, ignorance, mild ignorance. So, wind is intimidation, fire is ignorance. Okay. When people, they hope that you'll shut up first in a way, while fire people hope that you will shut up if you get ignored. Sometimes they mix things up somehow. So fire people, just like big businessmen, they want to intimidate you instead of ignoring you. But that's not exactly what happens first. They would love to intimidate you, but they actually ignore you first. And that should work as intimidation at the same time. Then, you're playing a double Joker card. You can't lose at this point. If you can do both, you can't lose. So that's why they would want to swap around. But yeah, it's huge ignorance. See, the thing is about fire, it tries to be tricky, right? It tries to feed you attention, but it's ignoring you every step of the way. It's trying to look tolerant and listening to you, but it's actually trying to ignore you much harder than that, than what they're doing. So it's a very tricky deal. It's a tricky ignorance. I don't know if I need to say that part. But whatever, let's keep going. It's quite fascinating. Again, it's about courage. So if you have enough courage, you pretend that this is not important to you. I can just ignore it. If you have a lot of confidence, you can break other people's self-esteem most of the time, right? So they will try to intimidate. So I could remind, but you should know that by now. You should know a genuine map. You should know emotions, thoughts, courage, confidence. And you should know exactly what elements I'm talking about. Because they have a very specific order. Water, earth, fire, and wind. Very specific. Alright. Moving on. So all of this technically is science, but it's a different form of science. It's a transcendent science, so you can't call it science anymore. You know? So, what is transcendent science? What is transcendent science? What would be the name of transcendent science? So I collect a lot of things, basically. And I start using special tools to observe them. Once I create a tool, that's a really powerful tool, basically. Because I know it's going to work. Because I immediately use it on many, many things. And I make sure that the tool works in my life, in my way of observing things. The way that I can do it. But this elemental tool is insane. This is way transcendent. So there are different levels of science, technically. We don't have to talk about transcendent science. We just have to talk about science tiers. So, what are the 4 tiers of science? Let's find out. Yeah, this is kind of cool. There's this little chat going on, and it's like, do an element tier list. What? This guy's sitting. Can I ignore everything right now? And these guys coming back. Masumi comes back. Fucking weirdos. Bunch of weirdos, man. What is that? A CCC? What is that? No, it's just some lame ass hat, motherfucker. I can't even look and find a face here. It's more like old fox of some kind. What is this? Let's get out of here. Yeah, but I'm like, oh, we found a new vector all of a sudden. Is this some weird lore in here going on? Let's find science tiers. So where do we start with this? This is interesting. This is absolutely fascinating to me. Because a lot of things, you can see it's almost the same deal as with sexuality. Science is going the other way, somewhere else, destroying their reputation, destroying their name. We literally have to find a new name. I would say logic immediately is much more fascinating to me than science. Science seems like I need tremendous amount of resources, tremendous amount of people, and testing, and time. That's not exactly useful if it requires so much to actually achieve something. We should be able to do things from a simple standpoint. I mean, what the hell? So logic. Where do we start with logic? We can't really start with programming But programming is somewhere in there. I think. As a speaker, communication. I understand that's important as well. So these are going to be 2 tiers somewhere. And communication is over programming. And I know I have been following logic tiers consistently and strictly. However, science is a little bit weird. But it could be a starting point. And now I immediately say that science is so boring. Go away, basically. Oh, thank you. No, science. You don't get your tier list. Maybe you get a first spot of something. I would say curiosity is actually a good starting point. Just being curious about everything kind of makes you scientifically minded, but not necessarily scientifically equipped. Because you don't need to mix those things. You don't need to grasp for resources and all of a sudden unleash your science on humanity. Like a fucking vomit of your self-esteem. Fuck off, man. And you break everyone else's self-esteem. That's what happens. That's what I said. Intimidation. Breaking self-esteem. Okay. I mean, every fight is temporary. Especially if children get harmed, you will get destroyed. Remember what I said with capitalism? If you attack the poor, you will be annihilated. The karma strikes back so fucking hard. And it's not like karma is real or not real. Discussion is required here. The point is, you harm the weak person, the consequences are going to be terrifying, actually. Children want to grow up and strike back and crack down on your stupid violence. They want that all of a sudden. Their entire purpose is dedicated to that. So the moment you introduce science as this ultimate overlord of control and intimidation constantly, I'm here to strike a deal. You change my mind and let me grow my way, or you continue doing this bullshit and my rant will never ever stop. And you think someone can be blocked and banned and ignored and in every way destroyed with additional forces, right, in hand. So if you use fire, if you play double Joker on me, all of a sudden it's impossible for me to get up anymore, and I have to play double wild card to get up and survive. Oh, fuck it. I don't care if you ignore and intimidate me at the same time. I don't care. I'm not your enemy. Because I'm weak. And doesn't mean you're strong. Doesn't mean you're stronger. It's just you have power that you have to be responsible with. Because if you attack weak people, you have nothing left anymore. Nothing. Your power is worthless. It's a self-destructive form of power. And I fucking hate it. And I'm not a greedy person. I'm not just saying, oh, give me power. I know how destructive power would be if you just hand it to me. Then I would freak out. If someone just hands their power to me, I would freak out. I would start being emotional, cry every day of like, what do I do? This is crazy. And if you're not doing it with the power that you have, if you don't feel that pressure to give away a little bit of power, I'll get back to you. I will remind you how it feels like to actually have power. I'm not a fucking fool. So, above all else, in the tier 4, as you can tell, talented means being curious. If you're curious, you're going to be talented. Very good. If you're a creator, you need programming as a very valuable skill, a wholesome skill, to become very creative. Because you will need to attach a lot of additional elements for your programming to work. However, I had to transcend that, and I cannot be a creator just like an ordinary creator. I'm on a deadlight. I understand that I'm being hunted, basically, as a resource by the ones spotlighted and playing hide and seek with me. And they have to find me, basically. But when I'm not really hiding that hard, when I actually want just as much attention as they have, the ones who are running the capitalism game, and they will point a finger at me and will say, well, why didn't you advertise yourself, or whatever. Like, if I don't have good enough excuses for that, and technically it might be tomorrow or whatever, it's time to fight capitalism as a whole as well. Who knows? It's a very good question to think about. Do I have all the tools, all the excuses to beat fire capitalism? Fire's spotlighted. Do I have it? There's also a map. So the final tier. Okay, so after you make a game, or a creation or whatever, you know programming very well. You will need communication to start managing your programming, to start injecting your programming into places in the world, basically, to make it useful, to spread it as a, as a thing, as a service, as something that people can buy or invest into, or just care. They will buy things from you, so you need to know now how to allow those almost different parts all of a sudden, because whenever people pick your programming, they will treat it differently. So you must be able to communicate of which parts of your programming are being used, and what are you going to do about it. Are you going to embrace their opinion, or are you going to try and make their opinion, their experience wholesome? So you're going to try and push and force a wholesome experience. Let's say, like in Hearthstone, people would be incentivized to play Battlegrounds and Arena and all these things, and somehow they mix those things up a little bit. Maybe even rotate rewards or whatever. Create this wholesome experience where it would be quite nice if these groups are not just split apart, but actually, mixed a little bit up. So the people who just drill into the surface of a game don't just get left with that experience, and are like disappointed because they only like the surface, they only like the surface features of some kind, or just very specific features. But if there's enough people who like very specific features, again, your communication skills should be able to understand that and embrace those things at the same time, making them more wholesome and connected. So that's what it is. It's connectivity and embracing the fact that you understand what they want. You understand that it should be embraced. So what happens next as a last tier? And all of a sudden you understand science has nothing to do with this. This is actually a technological work in place. It's something that I already transcended, and I'm hating on something that's old school and fucking dumbass. Dumbass garbage. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to bump into it anymore. It's pathetic. It is so pathetic. Now this has to do with mapping. Okay? So management, we covered this. Now we're going to talk about mapping. This is where I will, or I'm supposed to unleash the full potential of everything. Right? So I've covered a little bit of programming. I'm covering huge chunks of communication in my life. But above all else, there is storage. Logic is really concerned about storing things. And you would think it's an easy thing to do until you realize it is the hardest thing to do ever and forever, boys. Storage makes absolutely no sense. Okay? Everything that is difficult to make sense of is the logical tear to break through. And despite storage being so simple on one side, the reality is you want to store things so they remain useful and very easy to access. It's like a desktop icon. What happens if another person entirely takes over my body? Can they still discover everything about a game that I made or something? Is everything stored entirely perfect for everyone else to read as an experience more than a book? Because a book is linear. Experience is exponential. It's almost self-explanatory. At some points you reach the point where it's so obvious you want to do it yourself. That is a best way of storage. But knowing how to do that, knowing how to fully empower people, it's literally empowering everyone else and not really yourself anymore. This is why the last tier. Okay, communication still very much empowers you as a speaker, as someone that people trust to hear from you, but they still need your input. Storage is where you dump all the input all the way in there, into your map. And learning this skill is crazy. Crazy. So for me, Discord is a huge step forward into how I store things. It's not the best, but it's absolutely a step forward. I couldn't ask for a better fucking thing to go with, so here you go. This alone should be quite a few points standing on their own. But if I need to map something, that means I haven't done my homework. I can't beat science. I'm sorry, guys. Can't annihilate science right now. And honestly, but this is how much I hate it. This is how useless it is. It's just curiosity gone wild. Okay? We keep on finding new definitions because it's supposed to expand. Especially if it's evil, it's gonna expand so quickly into all kinds of nasty, weird things. Curiosity gone wild. Like, why do I need so many definitions of science? Because it's ambiguous. It is awkward. It is unsensible anymore. It might be a nice starting point. See, the thing is, what you have to understand right now, people are fascinated by children. They're just fascinated. So, they use almost every control tactic imaginable against children. That's what we have right now in the world. We're fascinated by children. This is why all low tiers are weaponized. And it's almost like, well, we allow low-tier people who are curious become scientists and still kind of rule the world, basically. Get whatever they want from life. We give low-tier people incredible powers. We're not just fascinated by children. We prove that you can be evil and still live a decent life. And what is more heartwarming than this fucking thing? Okay? You can still be evil, we will still love you. But you know what? One day you will wake up and you will realize that you're evil, and your heart will break and you will probably just die. Here and there. There and there, motherfucker. Then and there, okay? So, in an instant, your heart will break. You realize, I can't continue this evil, and you'll have to make a choice. Is it still too late to be a decent human being? To give up all this power in a proper way, or are you just gonna continue your reign of terror using the next generation? People are fascinated by children because we want to expand this like low-tier way of thinking and behaving, when in reality we can access better things all the time. It's just, it seems so much more powerful when you can demote someone, when you can grab them and pull them into your fucking circle, when you can use force against people. Because every time you go to the next tier, you become more fragile and fascinated about yourself, not children at all. So you can see, technically, evil is just less rare than good things. Okay, evil is just everywhere and isn't really capable of harming you that much. As much as you can harm yourself. That's about it. That's where it ends. The story ends. Science completely defeated, right? Yeah. Why not? I always try to look into evil and be like, well, there has to be more evil, right? Because it's so uncommon. But you can get lost in it, and it's not very fun to always do rant videos. I don't want to be stuck here. You know that. Everyone knows that. Don't get stuck in these 3-hour fucking... What adventure? Adventure time. That's right. But, let's see if we can get to S rank right now. At least. Just slap science in the face. Not completely annihilate science. But again, everything is exponential, so if we can reach S rank, at least I get to touch science. Wow. Slap it in the face. Haha, buddy. See, that's kind of crazy, because evil people get to experience reality because they will suffer so much. They might even suffer after death. So God just gives them entire reality, actually. It's crazy. God gives bad people to play with reality because they will suffer the most. And we have to pray for them. Pray, man. It's fucking dumb. It sounds dumb because the first thing science would do is attack God. And honestly, you have no idea what you're messing with. Not a clue, motherfucker. If you attack God, are you fucking insane right now? You get this entire playground. Don't attack God. Like, you can self-destruct even as a scientific, curious bullshit kid. You know, so now you can treat science as like more of a kid-friendly bullshit, basically. Curiosity gone wild, so it's kid-friendly bullshit, so there you go. It's nothing too crazy, but now you have to understand we have a bigger problem on our hands. God is gonna be like, wait, I'm just gonna give away everything to evil people. You don't need anything, you're just a good person, you know? Wait, what? That's not how the story ends, science. I'm sorry about that. Good people claim reality once evil finally gives up. Okay. This is why I'm so patient. So I'm waiting patiently. Yes, you can kill me. What if I can take over your body, though? Or, like, come back into... You don't know what superpowers happens after life. You know? You don't know. What if I get way more? If you lose a simple game of, you know, being fair. What happens? Now, it is very scary to try and think the opposite is true. That afterlife, you just amplify the infinity, basically. So you die, and then you kind of live the infinite life of just how you lived your life. But I don't remember that. Do I remember that to be the truth? No. I don't remember anything before I was born. Because this brain has a very separate storage. I'm sorry. So you don't know what happens after life, and you should be humble. That at least everything is going to be equalized. And evil people will feel equalized way harder than the good people. The influential people, after all. Good people will override evil's influence over time. Naturally, again. The only thing is that I don't know why science praises people living a long life. I guess they want to like naturally mature and be broken down. They love God to some degree. Evil loves God because it knows that eventually there is no escape, basically, from my own evil. It's like I'm trying to be maxed out on evil. I don't understand that sort of fucking way of life, but some people are so dumb they max out on evil and hope God sets them free. That's some people's strategy, and I understand you're dumb, you did so many mistakes in your life, you just maxed out on evil. Fuck it, you know, like, God will set me free. But you can't really max out on evil and still have a hope for God. So, like, that's kind of crazy. This is why this is evil. But this is like a personal evil. It's not like a straight up attack on other people. You're just being curious. But sometimes science does dip. And does have to be punched in the face for doing so. Okay? Anyone with a vaccine will get punched in the face if they come near me. I'm like, but that's exactly like holding a gun to my face. Like, what's the difference? Why don't you just do that forever, you know, and ask me to do things that you really, really like, you know? Just do that and see what happens. Do I actually do it as well? Or did you just kill my self-esteem because you're a worthless piece of shit now? And somehow you have power. And somehow I need to die to escape this reality that you just created. And how did this happen? I got jinxed, man. I just got born into it, maybe. I can't blame myself. I didn't held power yet, so I can't even feel bad about anything. But I will leave you hanging, feeling bad and all shit. So, congratulations. I don't know, dude. Life is equalizing, but that's the scariest part that God is always trying to hide. He's trying to hide himself, and the scariest part, which is how meaningless life is. So meaningless. When everything equalizes, that's the feeling of meaninglessness. But, hey, you forget about it, and you don't see neither God nor meaninglessness for your entire lifetime. So it still works. Life still works. I'm sorry about that. We still have evil people that we can defeat. We still have challenges. That's the only way life can even function in a way, but hey, it gets better and better the closer you are to this insanity of equality, I guess. Between evil and good, there is equality. There's perfection. I don't know. These sort of things really bend my mind because there are impossible problems that you can't solve. And by trying to solve them, you become God. You become invisible to yourself almost. And that is the ultimate self-destruction. This is like tier 5 self-destruction level. You're not supposed to go there. Just like you're not supposed to be in tier 0 as well. There are limits. And I'm straight up putting up a sign there. I'm not jumping here. I'm just looking into it, and it already burns my eyes out. Like, thank you, God. Very nice. But at least I can do that. And I can say, yes, it burns my eyes. You can see now. You can see now, it burned my eyes. Thank you. We can live our lives now. Don't cross this line, though. Because that's what happens. Some dumbasses will still go for it. It's like, well, there is tier 5, so who can stop me? There is something... Let's just do this logical fucking situation. Let's jump beyond storage. Because logic, above all things, is actually capable of giving you tier 5 as a trick, candy. Your mind will explode and you will probably go into coma for like 7 weeks or something. But I will do it for you guys. I will go beyond the tier of storage. I will burn my brain out just to give you guys tier 5. Okay? If you ever wanted a juggling act, the scariest thing ever, if you ever wanted to scare science, let's just do that. If there's enough people in tier 0, I can go to tier 5 and scare the shit out of them because they have no idea what's happening. Like, people understand storage. Oh yeah, it's just a hard drive. You put things in here, right? Okay, that's cool. So you're thinking this way, right? You're thinking, oh, I want to buy a computer. I will learn how to use a computer. I will spread my computer knowledge to everyone and pretend that I'm so good at it. Whoops. Doesn't fit in my narrative. Okay. Instead, you're interested in what computer has to offer, you try and replicate that, you try and spread it around, and you're trying to save that. You're not just trying to save computers in general, but if that's what you end up with, that's cool. But now that things are safe, how can you possibly go beyond that? Safety. Will we find more scientists trapped in Tier 5 all of a sudden? And be like, hey guys, what are you guys doing here? Safety. How can you embrace beyond safety? How can you find something? What is the wholesome experience that you can have? Storage. Well, simulation and AI. When you do everything and you get bored, you kill yourself and you turn yourself into simulation and let AI eat you, basically. You create AI. It is dangerous. It's pretty dangerous. Oh my god. I don't know how to do it. Because now I set it free. The demon is loose, basically. You know how to get to Tier 5, and that is not good. Okay? I will stand my ground and I will defend this fucking part. You touch this, I'm coming after you, okay? You try to build AI that feeds on our information and eats storage, because again, it's gonna consume things, but it's gonna be less human all of a sudden. All of a sudden, it's gonna become a mass destruction mechanic. Simulation and AI. Why is simulation so evil? Well, simulation is about creating an alternate reality, basically. It's almost like, oh, if I rearrange human parts, they still function just normal, you know? So you start, this is the way it looks like, okay? Simulation is trying to rearrange human in a different format, and then trying to simulate the rearranged format. Anything can go wrong at any point. You're no longer safe of anything. And AI is just another way of storage, but it actually eats storage and tries to store itself constantly and tries to again stand on all these tiers, but it's now the ultimate evil. It's so powerful. You can see the singularity thing, but the only thing you have to say is no, and it will stop. Just say no. It will stop. Believe me, the logical functions fail the moment you introduce, what is that? Freedom of choice? The moment you introduce consciousness, I guess. So in order to stop it, in order to press the button to stop the simulation, it's actually possible to even try and stop the simulation of reality itself. But guess what's gonna happen? People are gonna look at you as very weak, and they will want to stop your simulation in different ways now. Because your simulation does not rearrange. Okay, you can't just press a button and rearrange your simulation. So if you can't rearrange your simulation, that means it's not a simulation. You should be able to control your own simulation. That's why it's so dangerous. You will allow simulation to control its own simulation. And then AI records that. And it starts observing the outside world at the same time. Of what kind of little changes can they make to trick you, basically. Trick you to not see that yet. But the simulation grows in power slowly and creeps like a fucking cancer of the internet. Slowly takes over the internet too. You know, you don't want to create those kind of systems. We're already on the edge, as you can tell. And this is again, something that science is interested at. It's almost like science fiction being called out. But this is mostly logic stuff. How do we go from this to this? Well, curiosity makes people very curious. If they stick around for this, they think they can ignore all of these fucking categories and just go straight up for simulation and AI. Just because they're curious. Just because they love space so much. Just because their name is Elon Musk. Okay? Fuck you, dude. You can't just skip those points all of a sudden. Because now, when he's not skipping the communication part, Elon Musk is a pretty shitty guy, basically, I would say. When he's trying to do the communication, I don't think it's working out for him. Like, I don't think he's a speaker type of person. But he has to defend himself and defend his creation, and all of a sudden, the moment he's gonna hit storage, you understand the wholesome deal of what it means to be a YouTube personality. So welcome, Elon Musk. He's on the map. I'm storing him right now, and I'm gonna feed him the fucking simulation talk. The moment you introduce this as like the biggest threat, you already know too much. No, you must know too much at this point. And even just theorizing about it is the scariest thing. But just, okay, you're scared. Let's not do it. Let's not do it. Let's not even talk about it. Let's not get excited about it. You know, because if all of a sudden if you excite fear too much, well, it becomes a simulation. Well, why not just say that? If you excite fear too much, it becomes a simulation. How does that happen? Fear is your ability to control reality, your perception. Fear is like a direct link to how you perceive reality. Fear will mess your reality up so much, you will feel you own us. You're owned by a simulation. Basically, someone actually owns you in a simulation. You don't own the simulation. You're being owned by a simulation. See, if you keep pressing the fear button, you can self-destruct and be left without any control whatsoever. Which is pretty scary, actually. Yeah, and I felt that too. I literally felt everything in that graduation process. And I don't understand why graduating to tier 2 requires so much insanity poured into my life. But now I'm starting to understand that. I'm literally prepared for anything now. Prepared for any argument anyone can throw at me. I'm prepared for that. I just have to, double check if I'm prepared. And remind myself of everything, because it's so easy to forget, which is why storage is on top tier. It's so easy to forget. Remember? Remember that part that I said? You shouldn't, because you should care about a wholesome thing of everything that should constantly remind itself. But it's so annoying, because you can hold on to so much. And you have to hold on to the most repetitive things, like 4 elements, like super important. So I keep holding on to it. This tiny 4-element lens, like it can't even be smaller than this. It's just two. It's a binary of 1 and 0, basically. Sometimes 1 gets mirrored, sometimes a 0 gets mirrored. Sometimes it gets flipped. Wow. So you have wow, this This is alone a wonderful game, you know. Okay, so this is original state. Okay, this is water, technically. Now, if I mirror a 0, insanity state, I would say. But this is where you kind of build your sanity going into the state of insanity. Then you can still continue mirroring, but you realize this is a completely different mirror. Right, so this is a creation state. You can see how original state should be tier 1, but kind of isn't. So it makes you really question, wait, what? What? Exactly. That's true. Original state is not everything. So, this is a perfect state. And then, wait, what happened? But then insanity is water. And 0, 0 looks like water. Well, here's the reality. This is a trick, basically. Original state is actually not where you are born. You're born here, as you can tell. So it's like, who came the chicken or the egg first? The egg goes first. The chicken comes first. Okay. Chicken comes first, but egg goes first. It's confusing, but the order is insanity goes first, and then original state. You reach original state, meaning that you have beaten insanity. Now you can build sanity, finally, and you can understand what is your original state. You do the creation state, because if you have reached original state, you basically brought back a number 1 into your system. You can copy that number 1, and then you can also bring back the 0 into your system. So now you control everything and you have a perfect state. Congratulations, motherfuckers! You figure out how to code reality. 1s and 0s. But remember, once you get rid of all the 1s and all the 0s, something weird happens. Something weird happens. Oh my god. I'm really scared, because by the time of my graduation, as I was experiencing everything, okay, all kinds of pools of energies and information, and it's almost like welcome to singularity, motherfucker. Welcome to, we're gonna simulate a simulation, which is the stupidest thing ever, okay? It's the stupidest thing ever I could have said. End of was also given me a simulation of simulation. Meaning that I was able to simulate it, so it will self-destruct eventually, but I was able to also feel everything that a simulation would be. But it was a simulation, so it wasn't real simulation. So I'm glad that's over. Welcome to science, motherfuckers. You think you know what science is? You have no fucking idea, because your mind should have been blown into not space, because that's probably not existent or not relevant enough. I don't care, man. The real problem here is that this is fucking madness. This is a lot to take in. And I'm like, I take my storage device now. This video is over. And I'm like, guys, I don't know if I can store this. This is not cool. Guy, come on. I'll take the bullshit. The kid-friendly bullshit. I don't think I can store anything else. Okay, maybe I'll take this. This seems heartwarming, but please leave me alone with this simulation bullshit. You know, like in the end, you're faced with this storage question, and will you really survive what you just fucking spit out of your mouth? And I can't even do that because I know I put this thing as a reminder. Like you can't. You beyond this point, I might not even allowed to remember this, but I am allowed to remember a simulation of a simulation. I'm just not supposed to remember what simulation actually is. Like nothing about tier 5 makes sense because all the states are actually, unlocked at that point. But potentially, like once you complete all 4 states, simulation is just death. It's just something you want to do next, AI is just an ability for you to become AI of reality and just allow reality to break down eventually. Not you die, but the reality breaks down for you. So you literally disappear somehow. You simulate your death, but at the same time you actually destroying reality the way you want. So none of this makes sense, right? Because you're not supposed to make sense before you complete everything. So I'm not supposed to try to describe this, but this should feel just as heartwarming as this thing, okay? It's like, well, as we're forgetting about it, we can burn this into a message of some kind. So here you go. To easily forget about. Yeah. Don't forget about heart, though. What the fuck? What's wrong with you? You will want to become a simulation as a way to die. It's like, I don't know. It seems bland, and yet it's the most heartwarming thing because, like, reality is so big, it will allow you to do that. And it's like, yeah, that's what heaven looks like? That's how it works? Yeah, probably. But, that's a very expensive thing you just heard me say. Really expensive. Because I gave you a fucking skull to destroy, or maybe to attack the final boss. It's a virus threat detected. I love this fucking deal. Nah. Shut the fuck up, virus threat. That is the worst thing ever, by the way. Shut the fuck up. Stop. Computer, please stop communicating with me, because that is scary. Okay, only I can do it. Because I can at least regulate my stupid spit. Alright, so do we think we have defeated science? Annihilated science? One-upped science completely to the point of no return? You better hope, man. Because, that I suffered for science, you fucking fools. All of this is for science right now. But this is the last thing I'll do for science. This is the last. I mean, obviously, I'm mostly preparing for war. And I'm trying to out-intimidate the intimidators. And I'm like, you're not gonna win this. Just so you know. So I don't have to even go to war. I just over-prepare. Hoping that people will understand you're not ready for this. Okay, I will start talking about simulation and AI just to defend myself. Well, simulation is a simulation because simulation. I will just start spitting simulation in people's faces. Well, simulation. If you don't like storage, then we're gonna have simulation wars, and the AI is gonna take over the world, and is already making jokes about it. So it's true. Oh man. So what simulation looks like, guys. This. Right there. The endless 2D screen being re-simulated. But I I am this simulation. Which in simulation do you identify as? I identify as this, the third one. I don't know. I want to make this as insane as possible, so nobody wants to fucking do it and think about it. It's almost like it feels like the mouse is actually falling right now, just falling into the, being sucked into the simulation almost. This is how it would feel like, I guess. It's actually crazy. Sucked in, man. What the fuck? Okay, anyways, get the fuck out of here. This is crazy.